This week, to celebrate the wonderful career of Gene Wilder, to belatedly commemorate Roald Dahl Day, and to a lesser extent acknowledge Tim Burton's new movie, we're taking a combative look at the two adaptations of Dahl's classic children's book, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. It's a battle of Willies!
So which Willy wins? Well, we hope you're savvy enough to realise that straight off the bat, it's the remake, obviously. But stick around for our interesting, amusing insights. We have so much time and so little to see. Strike that. Reverse it.
Oompa loompa doopa dee doop. We've got another video for you. Oompa loompa doopa dee doop. If you are wise, you will subscribe to.
Released unceremoniously in 1971 to lukewarm critical reviews and a relatively poor box office, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory later found legs in the home video market, going on to become a certified children's classic. It's the movie that spawned a million memes, but is it still essential viewing for kids today? Did it really need a remake?
And, undeterred by his experience making that giant turd Planet of the Apes, Tim Burton was chosen to direct the 2005 remake, spurred on by enthusiastic approval from the Dahl estate after he produced another Dahl adaptation, James and the Giant Peach, which was admittedly a lot of fun. You see, despite being involved in the writing process, Dahl himself was never happy with the original movie, and a potential remake lingered in development for several years after the great man's death.
While it's not a masterpiece by any means, the original is a great family movie. Sorry Mr. Dahl, but you're wrong. It's one of those rare movies that doesn't sugarcoat the dark source material. If anything, it makes it darker while maintaining the strong morals at its core. It illustrates its lessons in sometimes disturbing ways, but it's all counterbalanced by a brilliant sense of humour, even outside Wilder's wacky performance as Wonka.
The remake, by contrast, is a pile of hot garbage. You want to view paradise? Well, I'm fucking lucky, because it ain't here. The original being one of my all-time favourites from childhood, I was reluctant to say the least about Burton taking the helm, whose output I find very hit and miss. And I kind of wish I never bothered, to be honest. As unsavoury an experience as it was for me, it has to be said there were some rather unsavoury aspects to the original too. Charlie gives Grandpa Joe money to buy tobacco, Wonka fills up Veruca's coat, there's the bit with the nightmare boat, and Slugworth gives off the strongest pedo vibes ever, although he turns out to be a fake, so I guess it's okay.
While the remake is the more faithful adaptation, it struggles to shrug off the original movie. Maybe it's the plot specifics, but Burton's film is almost a shot-for-shot, word-for-word retelling, which really is the worst offence for any remake. But that said, the film does justify itself in many other ways. I don't think it's quite as bad as Doopie makes out. I'd say it successfully captures the essence of the story while also modernising it. Burton's boyish enthusiasm shines through on several occasions, and he at least tries to do a few things differently, adding a backstory for Wonka, plus the coda, which doesn't really make much sense. It's a film that gleefully embraces the oddities of life, and it definitely has heart and wit.
But like the original, it's flawed. As a filmmaker, Burton has always embraced big sets and special effects to create his vision, but in recent years he's become overly reliant on CGI. I mean, did you see Alice in Wonderland? Or the trailers for his new movie? Charlie and the Chocolate Factory is no different. Again, he opts for this strange juxtaposition of modern and gothic elements, which comes across to me as technicolor vomit. Does he still think this is fresh? And though all the practical sets and effects look great, a lot of the CGI doesn't hold up. Thankfully, they were able to throw in that squirrel army, because who doesn't love squirrels?
Well, my dog isn't particularly fond of them. Looking back to the original, you really have to commend what the filmmakers achieved with such a modest budget. That opening shot of the chocolate factory still looks as delicious as ever. You can almost taste the snozzberries, but the chocolate river never really looked particularly chocolatey. Seriously, I've had bowls of Cocoa Pops that look more convincing. It's the antithesis of modern kids' movies in many ways. It's fantastic in its simplicity, and whenever it does get a little flashy, there's plenty of nonsense and sarcasm to ground it.
And this is perhaps the reason the movie got remade. The original does feel a little dated at times. I mean, who the hell sings with their local Candyman anymore? No, not that one. To be honest, I don't know how many kids these days would sit through this film without getting bored. To be fair though, I don't really know many kids. So appropriately, the remake is crammed with all the CGI bells and whistles you'd expect to see in a modern children's movie. It's par for the course these days, where it's impossible to maintain anyone's attention, let alone a kid's. Hey, what's that?
But all that CGI gloss covers up something that's a bit hollow and empty on the inside. Take the Oompa Loompas for example. The production and choreography during the musical numbers put the original to shame. But there isn't a single song in the remake that comes even close to the ones in the original. And for Danny Elfman penned tunes, that's a bit disappointing. The vocals are very low in the mix, and when you do catch the lyrics, they're very repetitive and unimaginative. And repetitive.
The original songs are memorable in the most wonderful way. They stay with you for days afterwards, even if the visuals aren't up to much. Almost every one is a classic, from the aforementioned Candyman to Pure Imagination, and of course, I've got a golden motherfucking ticket. And let's not forget those wondrous little orange dudes and their words of caution in every tune. Is making a song and dance out of child suffering in their contract, or do they just do that for fun? On the other hand, yes, Deep Roy is a badass, and a joy to watch as he struts his stuff. But to be honest, we like to see a little variety in our Oompa Loompas. Like the little fat Oompa Loompa from the original.
Burton does trump the original in one way though, his ability to show just how shitty kids can act sometimes, especially the spoiled, poorly parented ones, like Doopie.
Hey, I was raised right, you cunt.
Well, you're a vicious knid. Obviously this does register in the original, it's the whole point of the story, but Burton has a knack for illuminating the uglier side of humanity, and there's something about the tone of his fantasy movies that make these nasty characterizations stand out even more. Thankfully, the little bastards get their comeuppance, and Burton punishes them in fairly grotesque ways.
I'd imagine Dahl would delight in these aspects where he's still around to enjoy them. Who knows, maybe he'd prefer Burton's movie, but you can't have all those bad nuts without a counterpoint. Which brings us to Charlie, the one shining light in this rabble of shitty kids. Freddie Highmore is the standout performer in the remake, installing the character with enough sickeningly sweet innocence to buy into the crazy premise. If I had to choose between him and the original Charlie, Highmore just about edges it, even if he did grow up to become Norman Bates.
But let's not kid ourselves. The character we all came to see is Mr. Wonka. Following his successes with Pirates of the Caribbean and his history with Burton, it seemed inevitable Johnny Depp would end up in the title role. And considering some of the other names floated around, Nick Cage, Jim Carrey and Adam Sandler, it could have been a lot worse. I guess it makes sense that his version turned out to be an effeminate man-child, given his daddy issues, but the performance is just creepy at times. And what is it with that haircut? Is it just me, or does he look like V from V for Vendetta when he removes his hat?
If only got blown up at the end as well. Taking the role obviously draws comparisons to Wilder's amazing performance, so it's a brave actor who takes it on. Depp would probably be the first to admit his comic chops are no match, and Wilder even said that he was put off seeing the movie after what little he saw of Depp's approach. You can't question the guy's commitment to the role though. Depp apparently stayed in character even offset, ordering food in Wonka's ridiculous voice at a restaurant with
His family?
Yeah, that.
Looking back on Wilder's performance, it's hard to imagine another actor filling that iconic hat and costume. Wilder went all in, portraying equal parts charming, judgmental, detached, malevolent loon, and to his credit, it all gels together seamlessly. He's actually quite frightening when he puts Charlie through the final test at the end of the movie.
But that's what Wonka's all about. He does whatever is needed to test those kids, pushing them to the limits until they inevitably crack like the bad eggs they are. Wilder understood the role, and it was he who conceived Wonka's famous fake-out entrance, refusing to take the part unless that's how it played out. His reasoning was that from that moment on, no one would know if Wonka was being truthful or not, adding a layer to the character I'm not sure Depp even considered.
While the remake offers up a number of tasty morsels, Christopher Lee is always a delight, and Grandpa Joe is pretty hilarious, it can't compete with the force of nature that is the original. Whether it's still relevant with today's kids is difficult to say. All I can say is that if and when I have children, we'll be sitting down to watch the original. And if they get bored along the way, well, they'll be discarded like the other bad eggs, I guess.
So it should come as no surprise that we've selected the original as the winner of this movie battle. And to the late, great Gene Wilder, you amazing man, adieu, adieu. Parting is such sweet sorrow.